Hey guys, my name is Candace, and again I'm working on my Girl Scout Gold Award where I am teaching elementary school students about how to live a healthy lifestyle. So this video is actually going to be the last one, and it is going to be the seventh and final video, and it's continuing the healthy mind, and I'm going to be talking about how to resolve conflicts. So first of all, what is a conflict? A conflict is another word for a disagreement or an argument that could arise between maybe you and your friends or you and your siblings or anything like that. So an example of a conflict could be maybe you and your siblings, or you and your sister, you guys are watching TV, but you want to watch one show, but your sister wants to watch another show. So you start arguing about it. No, I want to watch this show. No, I want to watch this show. So that is, you guys are disagreeing on what show to watch. So that is an example of a conflict. Another could be maybe you and your friends are at school and you can't decide what you want to do during recess time. So again, you start arguing, and that is another example of a conflict. So when dealing with conflicts, the most important thing, or the first step to it, and this relates to what I talked about in the last video about different emotions, is knowing how you feel. Because in order to be able to resolve the conflict, you have to know what's making you upset and know what you're feeling. Because if you don't know how you're feeling, then it's hard to deal with those feelings and come to a solution. So I have some steps on how to deal with conflicts, but first I am going to do a little role play of an example of a conflict that could arise. So I have a bunny and a tiger. So this is a conflict that they have together. Hey bunny, can I please borrow your toy? Yes, of course, tiger. You can borrow my toy, but just make sure to give it back tomorrow. Okay, bunny, I promise. The next day. Tiger, did you bring my toy? Oh no, bunny, I'm so sorry that I forgot, but I promise that I'll bring it tomorrow. Okay, tiger, just please remember to bring it. The next day. Tiger, did you bring my toy? Oh, bunny, I'm so sorry. I forgot once again. I promise that I'll bring it tomorrow. Okay, I'm getting a little bit upset, but he said he promised to bring it. Take a deep breath, and okay. Okay, tiger, just make sure that you bring it tomorrow. Okay, bunny, I promise. And the next day. Tiger, you forgot once again to bring my toy. You know, it's making me a little bit upset that you borrowed my toy and you kept on promising that you bring it back, but you still haven't brought it back. It's making me upset that you've broken your promise. Bunny, I want to say that I'm really sorry about forgetting your toy again. Is there anything that I can do to make up for it? Well, promise me that you'll bring it tomorrow and write it down so you remember to bring it. Okay, I'll do that. I'll make sure to bring it tomorrow. And also, in case I don't bring it, I promise that if I forget, then I'll buy you another toy. Will that make up for it? Okay, tiger, that sounds good, but please try to remember to bring it tomorrow. Okay. The next day. Bunny, I remembered to bring your toy. Oh, thank you, tiger. Thank you so much for remembering. Bunny, I just wanted to say that I'm really sorry that I forgot to bring your toy. And I kept on breaking my promise when I said that I would bring it, but I didn't. That's okay, tiger. We can still be best friends. Okay, so that is kind of a little example of a possible conflict, an example of a conflict. And now I'm going to go through a couple of, I have 6 steps here that you could follow to resolve this conflict and come to a solution. So I'm going to go through each step and kind of identify how that played out between bunny and tiger. So the first one the first step is to cool off when you're upset. And this ties into what I talked about in the last video about anger management. You want to be sure to control your feelings and calm down to make sure that you aren't getting mad at the other person and you're calm when you are trying to come to a solution. So you can work it out by talking and you don't get violent. So cooling off when upset. And the way that Bunny demonstrated this was when she thought, okay, I'm angry, but I'm going to take a deep breath and calm down before I talk to Tiger about it. Now, the second step is to identify the problem. So in this case, Bunny's problem was that she had let Tiger borrow her toy, and Tiger kept on promising that he would bring it back to her, but he kept on breaking that promise and wouldn't bring it back. So she did this by saying, okay, I'm upset because Tiger keeps on promising that he'll bring the toy, but he keeps on forgetting and breaking the promise. And then moving on to step number 3, this would be to talk about how you're feeling and identify the problem with the other person. So in this case, it happened when Bunny said to Tiger, Tiger, I'm upset because you broke your promise and you still haven't brought me my toy back. So that is how Bunny let Tiger know how she was feeling, so he understood why she was upset and what he had done to make her upset. So the next step would be to listen to what the other person has to say. So in this case, Bunny lets Tiger kind of say what he's thinking. So he says, you know, Bunny, I'm really, really sorry. What can I do to make it up? So she listens to what he has to say and he apologizes for what he did to her. Now the next step, the 5th step, would be to propose a solution. So in this case, Tiger says to Bunny, I promise I'll write it down and bring it tomorrow so I don't forget. And if I don't bring it back, then I promise that I will buy you a new toy to make up for it. So that is the solution that they proposed. And the final step would be to agree on a solution to the problem. And they did this by both agreeing that if Tiger didn't bring it back, then he would buy Bunny a new toy. And they worked that out and he brought it and they were still able to remain friends without any hard feelings for each other. So that's kind of an example of different steps that you could use to, again, first calm yourself down and then talk about it with the other person and come up with a solution and agree on a solution and move on with it. So some things that you do want to do and some things you don't want to do when resolving a conflict. Some of the things that you don't want to do are things like yelling at the other person. You don't want, and again, that's why it's important to take steps like counting to 10 to calm yourself down to make sure that you don't yell at the other person. Another thing you don't want to do is to mumble. You always want to be talking clearly and directly to the person, and you want to always be maintaining eye contact. And maintaining eye contact is important because it helps you understand what the other person is feeling, and it helps the other person understand how you're feeling as well. And if you can understand how each other are feeling, it'll be a lot easier to work out a solution that works for both of you. And the last thing you don't want to do is accuse someone. And another word for accuse is to blame someone. Because if you blame someone, then that could get them angry, and then if you start fighting, that's just not going to get anywhere. So like I said, some things you do want to do are speak clearly to the other person and maintain eye contact. And again, you want to speak kindly. And one of the most important things that I keep repeating is you want to stay calm. And that's why it's so important to know how to deal with your anger and have things that you can do to calm yourself down in situations like this. So I have a couple other hypothetical possible conflicts that could arise, and how it would kind of play out, or some of the potential solutions that could be offered that these people could agree on. So the first one is Eddie and Nick were playing video games at Eddie's house. Eddie is very competitive, so when he lost a game, he cried. Nick makes fun of him and calls him a crybaby. Eddie becomes even more upset and they start calling each other names. How should they solve this problem? So again, the first thing that they want to do is maybe take a moment for themselves to calm down so they don't start yelling at each other, even if they're angry at each other. And then they could talk about it with each other by Eddie saying, it really hurt my feelings when you called me a crybaby. And maybe a potential solution that could come out of this that they could agree on would be for Nick to apologize to Eddie for calling him a crybaby and hurting his feelings. And they could also, he could also propose the solution to play another game that's less competitive. So no more problems arise, and maybe they could find a game where they could work together. Another conflict is Bob and Joe are playing soccer during recess. To steal the ball, Bob pushes Joe down and scores a goal. Joe says that this is not fair because Bob did not follow the rules. What should they do? So again, the first step would be to take a deep breath, calm down, and then talk about it with each other. And a solution that they could maybe come to from this would be maybe Bob saying, okay, that because I pushed you down unfairly and I scored a goal when I probably shouldn't have, I'll make sure that that goal does not count. Or it could be something like, because I pushed you and scored unfairly, I will let you have a penalty kick. So things are fair again, and hopefully that can make up for the fact that I pushed you. And one more would be, for his birthday, Mike got a brand new toy. When he wasn't at his desk, Fred wanted to borrow it, but rather than asking Mike, he went ahead and borrowed it and then broke it. When Mike found out that his toy was broken, he decided to confront Fred about it. How should they solve this? So this is similar to the scenario with Bunny and Tiger, and so they could solve it by Fred offering to buy Mike a new toy because he felt bad about breaking it. So he offers to buy a new one for Mike. So just to go over the 6 steps one more time, the first step would be to cool off when upset. Take a deep breath. And the second step would be to identify the problem, and then you would want to talk about your feelings with the other person and explain what they did to make you upset, and listen to what the other person has to say, and propose a solution and agree on a solution. And dealing with conflicts is important because it helps you to kind of come to a solution and move on, so you don't stay angry at someone, and you can keep that friendship and move on from that little conflict. And so the last thing I wanted to talk about was some conflicts that you wouldn't really be able to solve just by using these steps. And this would be more for things like if someone gets hurt, or if you see somebody getting bullied, basically anything that's more serious, that's not just a little disagreement between you and your siblings or friends, something that's more serious, you would want to be sure to talk to a parent or a teacher or a trusted adult so they can help you take care of that little more serious problem that you wouldn't want to just deal with on your own. So that is pretty much it for this video, and this is the last video in the healthy lifestyle. So again, I cover things like healthy eating, physical health, and lastly, mental health. So thank you so much for watching, and I will attach below this handout on how to deal with conflicts and a list of some examples of conflicts. Some of them I went over, but others if you want to look at and try to come up or run through the steps or try to come up with a possible solution that the people in the scenario could agree on. So thank you for watching, and I hope you learned something new.